Hello, book geekers. I have a special offer for you. That's right, available for a limited time, a free audio download. This exclusive conversation titled Following Your Passion with life-engineered author J.F. Dubois will give you inspiration and entertainment. Available for a limited time, JF tells us how he is making the transition from graphic designer to author. In a field where rejection is inevitable, JF shares his views on how he deals with it, what advice he would give anyone wishing to make a career change, and more. Janine Bay from Montreal, Quebec, Canada says, it is inspiring and entertaining, to the point and worth the listen. Go now, FrédéricBaye.com, Following Your Passion with author J.F. Dubois, available for a limited time. Hello. Come on in. Welcome to the Book Geek Show. I'm so happy to talk to you right now. Thank you so much for clicking the download button. I am Frédéric Baye, and I am talking to you from a cold, freezy, beginning of the winter, Montreal, Quebec, Canada. Hey, it's no secret that I'm not a winter guy. I am a summer guy, and I cannot wait to be in the Caribbean in less than a month. That's right. You are listening to the Book Geek Show, where books and only books rule. I am a geek. I am a podcaster. I am a bookworm. I am a writer. I am a host. I am a friend. I am an animal lover. I am a partner. I am basically everything you want me to be. This podcast is about fiction and non-fiction books that we love. Books change lives. Books entertain. Books make us grow. Basically, it is a live podcast. It is free every time you download it on iTunes. Please go over there and subscribe. It is listener supported. So the way you can do that is tell a friend, leave a review on iTunes, or for more info, podcasts, free gifts, articles, subscribe at www.fredericbaye.com, on Twitter at ByFred, or on Facebook. Simply type in my name, Frédéric Baye, and you will be set. Hey guys, I want to hear from you. You guys are tuning in more and more every single week. You are downloading my show every single week, which I am so grateful for. I love you. Have I ever told you that? I love you. And so I want to hear from you. I am a bookworm, like I said earlier. So if you would like to be on the show to discuss a book you have written, or if you're not a writer and you love a book, you're passionate about a certain book, and I know how you feel when you love something, when you love a book that is just a natural page turner. It's just like you don't want to go to work. You just want to keep reading. I get it. And I want to talk to you about it. I am curious about it. I want to discover more and more books. So if you have book recommendation or you just want to chat, tell me what you think about the show, what you would like to hear. Email me at info@fredericbaye.com. That's info@fredericbaye.com. For advertisement offers, use the same address with subject advertising. One more thing, subscribe to my YouTube channel. I just, a short while ago, I just, started the YouTube channel. I posted all of my previous podcasts on the channel, so you can listen to them, subscribe, and it's a very, very, I love YouTube. I really, really, really love YouTube, and I really intend to, expand my reach, if I can say, through YouTube. So, check it out. Go on youtube.com right now. Check out the Book Geek. For all the sound bites you hear on the podcast, thanks to soundbible.com and thanks to greatcleanjokes.com for our weekly jokes, because as many of you know, I always like to start off with something funny to kick off the show. You know, we all love to laugh. And this week, the joke is about a birthday surprise joke. That's right. Listen to this. Benny decided to buy a present for his Uncle Sam's birthday. So with his older brother's help, he bought a present, gift wrapped it, and brought it over to his uncle. His uncle, knowing that Benny's father manufactured apple juice, and seeing a wet spot on the bottom corner of the box, decided to have some fun with Benny by trying to guess what was in the box. Said Uncle Sam, dipping his finger on the wet spot and taking a quick taste. I'm going to guess it's a case of apple juice. No, said Benny, jumping up and down, clearly enjoying the game. Not apple juice, said Uncle Sam, clearly surprised. After another quick taste and a brief pause, he guessed again. Is it apple cider? No, said Benny, practically squealing in excitement. It's a puppy. All right, hey, it's a cute joke. I love that one. Actually, I really like it. I thought it's a little gross, but it's a funny gross. It's a clean gross, right? Hey, you know, here at the Book Geek Show, I always try. I want to be a light in your life. I want to bring a positive light in your life. But, you know, given all the circumstances in the world, I don't want to, give that somber, speech monologue about, everything that's going on. So, hey guys, thank you for your love and support. And, I just want to be a light in your day, maybe for 30 minutes or an hour a day. Hey, if I can make you smile, that's cool with me. Right before going to the book of the week, I just want to talk about, last week's, blog. I wrote about a book that I enjoyed and then I read about like 8 years ago, and I still go back to it again and again for funny stories, for funny anecdotes. The title is Hitman: My Real Life in the Cartoon World of Wrestling. So the title is Hitman: My Real Life in the Cartoon World of Wrestling, and the author is professional wrestling legend Bret Hart. Guys, you have to understand something. This book is a masterpiece. Even if you're not a wrestling fan, I highly recommend that book just for if you want to go, if you really want to, wrestling is so unique. It's a unique world, and you have all types of characters. And this guy basically grew up in the world of wrestling. He was born a wrestler, for Christ. Oh, sorry. Well, I can't swear, but he was born a wrestler. And, he's just, and that book really, you don't have to read it cover to cover. You can just enjoy it, once in a while. Sometimes I just flip, I just sit down and open, randomly open the book and read a paragraph or two. It's an amazing book, guys. Check out the blog, and most importantly, check out the book. If you're looking for entertainment, it's great. I even learned about the world of business, because wrestling is business. It's not a sport. So check it out. Go to frédéricbaillet.com to check out, the book and the blog, and pick the book up. I highly recommend it. All right. This week we have a guest, and we're going to talk about Dawn by Elie Wiesel. That's a novel. It's called Dawn by Elie Wiesel. Now, who is Elie Wiesel? Well, I'm going to tell you who he is. I'm sure you probably saw him on Oprah. You probably saw him in countless. This guy is just amazing. He's the wisdom pours, the wisdom, he sweats wisdom. He breathes wisdom. This guy has such a calm aura that it's not even funny. Elie Wiesel is basically the author of more than 40 books, including his unforgettable international bestsellers. It's called Night and A Beggar in Jerusalem. He is the winner of the Prix Médicis. He has been awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom, the United States Congressional Gold Medal, and the French Legion of Honor with the rank of Grand Cross. In 1986, he received the Nobel Peace Prize. He is Andrew W. Mellon Professor in the Humanities and University Professor at Boston University. He survived the Holocaust. And this is where the title of the podcast comes from. He survived the Holocaust. And, like I said earlier, check him out on YouTube. People who have went through a lot of things in their lives have a special aura about them. And he is one of them. And you will read Don, you will read his other books. This man is an amazing writer. It's not hard, it's not difficult to read. It's simply written. I mean, I don't know how he wrote it. He's just an amazing writer. When I started to read the book, I was just hooked right from the beginning. So that's it. Today, Geekers, I am joined by a lifelong friend of mine as he discusses, one of his favorite books, which is Done by Elie Wiesel. My friend, he's a musician. He's actually a pretty darn passionate musician. And he's also a town planner, and he tells us how he experienced the book, why it is a must read, especially with the current events, and what we can learn from this unique novel. And obviously talks way more, during our conversation. So check it out. That's it for me for today. Let's get to the interview, guys. All right. Hello. So we are here with Jean-Benoit. What's up, man?
What's up, Fred? How are you doing?
Huh?
How are you doing?
I am fabulous. What about you?
I'm pretty good.
Hey, it's the first time I speak English with you. It's weird.
But, we're used to talking in French.
I know. Hey, man, thanks for being on the show. Thanks for being here on the Book Geek Show. And sorry, I'll drop my mic here. So basically I called you because, asked you what's the best book you've read. And, you talked to me about that book, Dawn by Elie Wiesel. Wiesel, how do you spell his name?
It's, Wiesel. I'm not sure either if it's Weasel or how you pronounce it really, but, Wiesel if you look it up.
Okay, cool. So tell us a little bit about that book because, I started it, I leafed through it, and, it really seems like an awesome book. I didn't read it in full. And also, given the circumstances, with, France and all that, I think it gives us a good idea about, the mindset behind, basically killing people. So just summarize the book for us. What is the book about?
Yes, but first and foremost, Elie Wiesel is a survivor from the World War II. He went into concentration camps, mm-hmm. And his first book, which was Night, is about that. It's really a telling of his story. His second book is Dawn, and it's semi-biographic in the sense that he imagined what it would be like when he got out of the concentration camps, if he got out of there and got recruited to be in Israel and fight the Englishmen, which what's happening in Israel is still going on in our days, but there's been a fight there since a long time ago, and it was raging in the 1950s too. So he imagined himself as a young man, an 18-year-old man, who got out of concentration camps and got recruited to fight the Englishmen in Israel. And the story takes place all during one night, which is the night before he's about to be the executioner of a British policeman or a British officer, which was taken hostage by his camp. So he's about to kill him at dawn, which ends the name of the book. So it all takes place overnight, and we follow what he thinks about that, all his thoughts, all his feelings about it.
What state of mind you have to be in to read this? Did you read the first book, Night? Because it's one book of a trilogy, right? Night, Dawn, and The Accident.
It's a trilogy, yes, but it's a very loose trilogy, actually. You don't.
What do you mean?
You don't need to have read the first one to read this one, and you don't need to have read the two. It's really 3 separate stories. Like I said, The Night is a biographic story. It's really his story, what happened in Buchenwald and in Auschwitz when he was in the concentration camps. While the second and third are, they're both, the protagonist is someone who was in the concentration camps like him, but it's not his story afterward. It goes into fiction. And it's not the same character in the 3 books, but there's links between them, but you don't need to have read any of them to comprehend the other ones. Actually, the first time I read Dawn, I hadn't read Night, and I found it really good the first time. And afterwards, I read Night and I reread Dawn, and you get some things better when you read it that way, but you can understand really well without doing that.
Okay, so you read Night also.
Yeah, I read Night.
Are you a Wiesel fan? Like Elie Wiesel fan?
I read the trilogy. That's what I read
awesome.
from him. The third, which you call The Accident, actually was it's now most of people call it They, so it becomes part of the trilogy, but it was written as The Accident first, which is also pretty good. For a short story, it tells the story of, like I said, another guy, which always has a name that sounds familiar to Eli. This one, like in Dawn, it's Elisha, but it's always a name close to that. And it's this story while he gets hit by a cab while he's in New York, and he's in the hospital, and he wonders if it was really an accident or he put himself in front of the cab, because he's suffering through reminiscing everything from the concentration camps. So there's really a theme that connects the 3 books, but like I said, they stand out. Each can stand out on his own.
Yeah, and when I read the book, the beginning of it, I was so surprised because it's a heavy subject. It's a dark subject, right? The Holocaust and all of that stuff. So it's so heavy. At the same time, I read it and it was like, this guy is an awesome writer in himself.
Oh. Yes, it's a really dark subject. It's really somber, but the way it's written, particularly Dawn, it's lean, it's mean, it's direct. There's no fat around it. It goes straight to the point, which I think was the best way to go with the subject, because you don't want to enhance it with beautiful thing. It's not a beautiful subject, but at the same time, the writing is beautiful, though. It's really a beautiful prose you got there. It's really, really well written. So yes, a really dark subject, but a really beautiful writing, though.
And yeah, like I said, because I opened it and I couldn't put it down, to be honest. I was like, wow, because I love stories, especially heavy, somber stories like these, where it's easy to read. It's not, like you said, there's not a lot of fat around it. You know what I mean? So, and it was just refreshing, actually, and it flows, everything just flows in that story, it seems.
Yeah, but since it's, like I said, it's happening all over one night, so you got flashbacks in it, but it's mostly like, when it got flashback is because he thinks about it. So it's all happening over one night, so it's really, you can almost read it in one sitting if you have the time. It's a little more than 100 pages, so it's not that long, but it really flows, yeah, right.
Tell me, what state of mind were you in when you first read that book? Because what brought you to read it in the first place?
Actually, the first time I read it was in high school. It was a teacher who gave us that to read, and I was 14 or 15, which might be a little young to read it. I don't know, but when I read it, I really liked it right away. I don't know if you don't need a particular state of mind. You just need to be aware that it's not going to be a light lecture. It's got to make you think. It's got to make you confront some morals. Might get you to confront your past a little bit. You're going to think when you read that. It's not something you're going to read and be like laughing or.
Yeah. So. And okay, so what was your first initial reaction to it?
Actually, I was shocked. I was shocked, a little bit disturbed, because it was probably the heaviest book I've read at that point in my life. And even today, I reread it last year, I think, the last time, and still, every time it grasps you, because the feelings in there are really intense. It's really
deep.
It's really deep. It's really intense. You need to, like I said, it makes you think all the time. It makes you wonder, what would you do in that situation also? And like it's not a situation that most of us will have to confront, but it goes to an extreme, but it makes you think, how do you confront your past, and what do you do when you're in a situation that you not necessarily want to be in, but you have a decision to make, you know? Mm-hmm. So I think it's a really deep, beautiful, and intense book, and I read it, like I said, when I was 14. I'm 30 today, and it still rings as much as it did the first time, and probably because it's still really relevant. Like you said in your overture, it's what happened in Paris, what's happening now with ISIS. It's still relevant to our times. You can just change, it was the Jews in Palestine, but it might as well be in Syria, or it can be in Mali, it can be anywhere where those kind of things are happening right now.
Speaking of that, how do you think that this book can help, like, people who were the victims of all the terrorism and, all that stuff?
I don't know if it can help, but it's funny you mentioned that. I was thinking about that when you called me to do your show. I thought about the book, and I thought, if ever, what's happening right now, if there's another world war, and we have to go fight. I was thinking, having read that book, I feel a little bit more prepared to go there for some reason. I probably would think about that book if I have to go there, which I probably won't, but it's I think everybody from every religion should read that book. To me, it's a good book, but it's an important book.
Awesome. That's an important thing you just said. Okay, so you I'm just curious. You said prepared. How prepared? What do you mean you feel more prepared?
I'm not prepared in the sense of fighting, but in the sense of morals, of things you have to do sometime, and nothing necessarily you want to do, but sometimes you have to do.
Okay, give me an example.
Well, it's probably the main. I don't want to give the punches of the book, okay. But the whole thing about the book is he's gonna kill that officer, which he doesn't know, and he has to do it. His commander in chief, he asked him to do it. So the whole book is really about him thinking, will I do it? Can I do it? Why do I do it? Also, it's a whole, the whole thinking behind what he's about to do is really interesting, and it really gives you matter of reflection, which I think when, even in the smallest, decisions you make in life, you need to think about,
Wow. Okay. That's interesting. You mentioned, because the Holocaust obviously is based on Jewish, they were targeting the Jewish people. Why do you say every religion? Why do you say this book would be useful to every religion?
Well, because actually, but Dawn, not Dawn, but the first one, Night, like I said, was his real story. It's about the Nazis and the Jews being persecuted. Afterwards, in Dawn, like I said, it's the story of this young Jew who goes to Israel and is about to be the executioner of a British officer. But like right now, like I said, it can still, with what's happening with ISIS and things like that, it could be a Muslim, because I'm guessing from what we see in the news, we see there's execution, and I'm not sure the guy who's the executioner necessarily always wants to be, but war brings that, and terrorism brings that. So I'm thinking a Muslim, a Jew, a Christian, someone who's an atheist. It's really interesting for any of them, like to see how not just how a fact, an organization which is religious or not, can bring the pressure to do things like that, and what you think when you're the person who's pushed to do things like that.
Yeah, because most books are based on the victim, how the victim thinks, feels, sees the world, acts. And this one, you seem to be saying this complete opposite, which I think is very interesting, because we rarely think about this, because I was watching actually a documentary about jihad people who they just go out into the world and they kill, and they showed how they are kind of their mindset and what they're being told and what they're being, and I think to prevent war in a way, or terrorism, I think it's important to also understand what goes on in the mind of the killer.
Yeah, exactly. And like I said, they're not necessarily all cold-blooded killer. And what you said is interesting. It's really rare that you get a book from the perspective of the executioner. We're mostly used to books about victims, and it's rare that the protagonist is the one who's gonna kill someone. It's usually someone, except in the movie genre where they're like a cool killers, like in a Tarantino movie, but really a killer who's got to do his thing, and he's not a cool guy. He's someone who has to kill. It's really rare that we can read that, and I think that's what's probably struck me the most the first time I read it. The point of view is really interesting in that book.
Curious, did you get sympathy for the guy? He's the killer.
I think you do. I mean, it's everybody who will read it probably has their view on it. I had sympathy for him, because you feel that it's not necessarily that he wants to be there. Well, he wants to be there, but he doesn't necessarily wants to kill the person. He's got to do it. He's pushed by the religion, by the war that's going on, and in the war, it's not always black or white. I mean, they're not necessarily the bad guys. They killed the British officer, but the British officers also killed Jews before, and every war is like that. So, is he really the bad guy? He's not just because he's gonna kill someone. He's really necessarily the bad guy,
Wow. Okay. This is a good point. Because in our imaginary world, in our world, the bad guy is the killer and the good guy is the victim, right? And here you say, well, yeah, he's the killer, but he's not really the bad guy. And that's one of my belief is that nobody's a good guy or a bad guy in the real world. We're just human beings, and sometimes we're the good guys, sometimes we're the bad guys, but. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, but like I said, it's not always black and white like that.
That's it.
And I think one of the strongest chapters, I think, in the book is in the end, the last chapter. Not because it's a conclusion, but that's when he gets to sit down with the person he's gonna kill. And it's really interesting because you see they're probably both good guys in the end. They're there because war brought them there, but they probably would have never crossed paths otherwise. and he probably wouldn't have ever killed someone otherwise. So they talk, and it's not it's like the rest of the book. It's not, there's no fat in the conversation. It's really, there's not much words that are exchanged, but all the words are really important in their conversation. And you get that they're both probably good guys in the end, but someone has a job to do, and the other one, this guy it's sad for him, but he's the one who has to die,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Isn't it like and that just makes me think also of the documentary I watched this week, where, coming back to the good guy bad guy thing, these guys, the terrorists, they think they're the good guys because they do it in the name of God and blah 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 and blah blah blah, and they should kill anyone who's not loyal. Who, if you're not a believer, then you're not. Then you're an, I don't know what you call it, but an unpure something.
Yeah.
And I think that brings me that brings me back to what you just said. What was your haha moment?
I don't think there's the book is really short, so there's not really a moment. I think it's really when you finish the book, that's when you realize the amplitude of the book. That's when you get the haha moment. You get, wow, what happened? Well, you get that you're shocked, that probably it's a book that gonna change the way you think, probably. So it's not really a moment, I think, in the book, because the punches, like I said, the whole book revolves around him. Is he gonna kill him? What he's gonna do? The conversation, the thinking between that. So you need to get to the end of the book to get what's really happening there. And I think the whole book is really enlightening in the end. But it's not a particular moment. It's what you get from the whole journey of Renegade, I think, which is interesting.
What did you get from it?
Make you think about, about your past, about war for sure, but about the past, because like I said, this is an Holocaust survivor. And
okay, wait.
Yeah.
Is it your past or the past, our history?
Good question. I was thinking more about my past, but probably both. Because like I said, he's an Holocaust survivor, which is a big part of our history too, obviously. But what he is, what the Holocaust brought him, and you probably get it more if you read it after reading Night, even though it's not totally a sequel, but you get it also if you didn't read it. It's his past as a survivor. He probably has a little bit of survivor's guilt also, and he feels a due over his religion, over Israel, So, but the thing I was getting to is you need to confront your past, because your past is gonna affect your present and your future, and that's what it brought me. You can't just say let the past be the past, because at one point it's gonna affect your decision making. It's gonna affect your life. So you need to confront it. So when you get into situations, you can react as best as you can without having some thoughts that maybe you don't realize it, but that there's some thoughts of your past that influence your decisions.
That's wow, man! I didn't know I didn't know that you thought that way, man. That's awesome, really. I'm gonna finish it. Forget it. I'm gonna finish that book.
You definitely should.
Yeah. Hey, you talked about survivor's guilt. I know it's on more in Dawn, but I'd like to talk about that.
Yeah.
I think a lot of listeners, whether you survived the Holocaust or whether you're, the rich one in your family, or we all have a kind of guilt for, whatever we're, we all have a kind of guilt for our success in a way, when you become successful. Talk to me about that. What did you learn about survivor's guilt?
Like a survivor's guilt, about, just so people know, in the trilogy, you have a lot more in survivor's guilt in Day, when he gets into his accident, like the third one. This one doesn't explore that much, but you get it mostly from how he feels. You see that he has guilt over what happened, and surviving it instead of dying there. We probably all have a little bit of survivor's guilt, or we have all at least a couple of ghosts in our closet, that, like I said, you need to confront your past. It's not always easy. There's always things that are going to come back. You can't, when I say confront your past, it's not to erase it either. Because your past, you don't want it to make your decisions for the future, but it's still a part of you, but you need to get over being guilty about it. That's what I meant about confronting your past, is mostly don't be guilty about what happened that's been bad, but don't be either too proud about what happened that's been good in your life, You need to put everything into perspective, I think.
Wow. Yeah. Totally agree. Your favorite quote from the book?
Yes, favorite quote. There's, like I said, it's really beautifully written, and, I don't know maybe if I read it over, I'd have a different quote.
Absolutely.
Each time, but, there's one that I really liked when I flipped through it, recently. It's about, because I thought it was really interesting with what's happening right now, in the world. It's a thought about, hate. And he says, a man hates his enemy because he hates his own hate. He says to himself, this fellow, my enemy, has made me capable of hate. I hate him because he's my enemy, not because he hates me, but because he arouses me to hate. Which I thought was really interesting. Because it's the whole concept of, it's like in war, mostly in war, but in real life it might apply too. It's rarely necessarily totally personal when hate comes. It's, you hate how a person makes you feel. You hate that he brings some feelings within you, It's not necessarily because this person hates you. It's, and I think, we saw what happened in France. I don't think they didn't necessarily hate every person that they killed. It's an idea. It's what this idea brought into them, that made them hate them,
Yeah. You just said, it's the idea of hating them that makes you hate them.
Yeah, because they bring hate out of you, so you hate that. You don't want to feel hate in life. So when someone brings hate out of you, you hate them because they bring hate out of you. So it's kind of a vicious circle, but it's rarely personal, especially in wars,
Yeah, isn't it the same thing that occurs in not just war, but in a lot of companies? I know in my personal experience, I've been in places where they beat into your brain they try to beat it into your brain, to beat something into your brain where, because they want you to feel the way they feel. They want you to see the world, the way they see the world.
Yeah.
And I truly believe that another enlightening thing you just said is that this is what I think dictatorship is. This is what I think terrorism is. I think this is how you manipulate people. You don't manipulate people by physically forcing them. You just manipulate their brains. And this is what I learned in my past.
Yeah.
When somebody can control your mind, they got you. I don't care how muscular you are. I don't care how big you are. I don't care how, much money you have. If they manipulate your mind, you're screwed.
And if I might say, a good way to manipulate minds is with feelings. And love is a strong feeling, but hate is as powerful. So if you can manipulate people to hate, it's really powerful.
Absolutely. You're negative as a fan.
But we talked about it. I don't know if it's that negative, but it's really it's really, really dark. There's no light moments in that book, which can be tough. When we read it, it's a good thing that it's not too long, because reading a really long book like that would really be daunting. But I think for the 100 and some pages it is not too bad. But you have to know, it's really dark. There's no light moments. Maybe a light moment would have been welcome, to help breathe to it, but I think maybe it would have made the book a little less effective also if there was a lighter side to it, because it's not a light subject, but that might be the maybe something a little negative for someone who maybe not used to reading something that dark and intense, but I think it fits the book well, but that might be maybe the negative part of it.
Just going back to what we said earlier, the history thing. I think and this is what I'm starting to learn now, to understand my present in where we are as a world. If you start to read history, like if you start to read like books like this one, like Night, Dawn, and like the historical books, mm-hmm. It gives you a real perspective of where we are now and why we are where we are now.
Yeah.
And I think the way you talk about that book, I think it does that. I think it does that. I think it does that job of like understanding past mentalities to understanding our current mentality. What is the main lesson you learned from the book?
Maybe we talked about it earlier, but you got to deal with your past, so it won't affect your present and your future. And also not him, it's in an extreme situation, but in general, I think you need not to get stuck in a situation you're not comfortable with, where you don't want to deal with. You need to get out of those situations. Not be confronted to something, like I said, his situation is extremes, but I think in life, even if it's in the smallest situation, you need to get out of something you're not comfortable with. And like I said, also deal with your past. That's probably the two main lessons you get from that book.
Awesome. And to whom would you recommend that book?
Everybody, really. Maybe everybody. Like I said, I read it, I think I was 14, so everybody probably 14, 15s and up. That's mature enough to get the lesson, but everybody, but someone, you need to be in the right state of mind when you read it. You need to know it's going to be a tough book. It's not going to be light. So I think if you read it at the right time, it will bring you something, if you're ready to read it, because if you're looking for something light after the first 10 pages, you'll probably stop reading it. But if you read it at the right time, I think everybody can get something out of it. Like I said, I read it in school the first time, and I thought, I think teachers should really maybe not all, but really read it and probably propose it to their students, because it's, like I said, it's an important book, if you want my opinion.
It's funny that you talk about teachers should recommend that book. I was thinking about this today. Back in the day, we used to have these musical classes. Mm-hmm. They has this flute class. Did you have?
No,
that?
I didn't have that. But
what instrument did you have?
I didn't have the musical class, but
you
didn't have it at my school. But I know most places had that.
Because I was thinking, and I said this to my sweetheart. I said, why did they give us, musical classes and all these types of classes when they could have just, give us, some, I don't know, financial education stuff or, and it's funny that you bring that up, that they should read that, they should recommend that book because, it adds something to their lives in the future.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. It's a good. It brings reflection, which is always a good thing. Maybe not for people at elementary school, but when you're starting, and like I said, maybe at 14, 15 years old and up, it's always good to have reflection. I think for elementary school they should keep the musical classes. It's always it's a good way. Not a musical. The musical is a good way to it's lighter, but you learn things from that too, I think. So I wouldn't cut those classes, but when you get older, it's important. Like we always have books to read, and I think when you're a teacher, it's probably it should be your responsibility to give your students book that will bring them something growing up, that will make that will make them, challenge their views of the world, especially in the world where we're living now, and there can easily be racism and things like that. So to have book that challenges that makes you think about things, that makes you get your own way of thinking is really important. And I'm talking about Don, but it's not the only book like that. I recommend it highly, but there's also other books, but just teachers should get those books out, the books that make you think, not just that are entertaining,
Yeah, that's true. But just coming back to the musical class, I think you should give it as a special class, not as a must. That's just my opinion.
I love music, so I'm always happy to know that kids are learning music somewhere, and I think it's a good thing. But yeah, maybe just as maybe not.
Give me financial education.
Yeah, but not when you're
as a must.
In elementary school.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe starting at 10, maybe,
Yeah.
The first 2 years, the flute is a good thing to learn.
Please, man.
Or the guitar or something. It's a good, creativity and artistry is really important too. So.
No, it is important, but it put it as a special class in my opinion. Anyway.
Yeah. So
all right. Hey man, thanks for this, man. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
All right, good.
Have a good day.
See ya. That's all for today. Thank you for listening, and I hope you found it helpful. If you want to listen to more episodes, you can visit fredericbai.com/podcast. If you'd like to connect, you can also tweet me @byfred, or you can find me on Facebook @FrederickBaiWriter. And remember, live with purpose, passion, and love.